y'all. We finna be
It's
live.
pontificating, yeah, we back again. So tell your friends to tell your wretched ass friends. Thought we was gone, but nah, no, we ain't. That you got rid of us, but no, you can't. Yeah, we gotta do this shit for real. You know what I mean?
Yo, Asia, singing at the end takes me out every time, bro. Oh, Lord have mercy. Well, welcome back to another episode of Pontificating Podcast. As you see, look, we playing musical chairs. Our girl S busy. She out, baby. She pregnant and she's having a time. So we're gonna send her love and light, okay?
Yes.
So let's jump right into our Is It Just Me? Or let's update the people.
All right. Is it just me, or for those of us in therapy, do you ever get like stressed about your therapy session? Like, I just like
Absolutely.
we decided to do every other week, and I'm so glad because I really can't imagine talking to her every week. And then sometimes I feel like I don't know, it feels like I feel guilty for not feeling crazy sometimes. Like so like because like okay, like I'll have a good week, right? And then it's like I know therapy is not only about like fixing your problem, it's just a space to talk, right? But I feel like my idea of therapy has always been like I'm gonna go in there to be fixed. Like if you're gonna fix this, you're gonna fix this, right? So like I'm seeing her on Wednesday, and I mean I have nothing to report. I have no bad news. I have no doom and gloom, right? So it kind of makes me feel like what am I gonna talk about this week? I don't have any issues this week, right? Or I don't have any yet. Maybe by Wednesday something will happen.
She gonna when you think you don't have shit going on, you be like, oh, I'm done. I've graduated. You are going to be rocked. Okay?
Actually, no, so funny. Our last session, I don't know if Kioma, you know this, Ty knows this. I have a phobia of taking baths, like being submerged in a bathtub.
Mm-hmm.
I do bathe, but I cannot be in a bathtub. I can't do it. And last session, I forgot how we got on the topic, and she was intrigued. Like, I actually, between now and Wednesday, I have to get fully clothed and get in the bathtub and sit there for an hour. Because that was my homework. Yeah, because she she thinks it could be a texture issue. Like maybe I don't like how my skin feels on the whatever the material tubs are made out of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she's like, maybe it's because I like jacuzzis, whatever. She said maybe it's the porcelain. So she was like, put a long sleeve shirt on, pants, socks, and like get in the bathtub and sit there and like see how not having the thing on your skin feels. So that's my homework. So you're right, because I did not see that coming as an assignment. And I have been putting it off like since last Wednesday. I'm like, I'm not getting in that bathtub. But now I'm like, damn, I got to get in like maybe tonight because she's going to want to know if I got in and if I had a major breakdown. So yeah.
Interesting.
Right.
That's very
interesting.
I can't wait for you to get over that because, baths are truly one of my I haven't taken a bath in so long and I feel it. I just need to soak. Oh, it's so good. Oh, Jesus.
I am envious. People like my father loves taking baths. I'm always like my back, he's like, take a bath. And I'm like, you don't understand. It'll make it worse.
Right.
The tension.
But you have to listen, people, bath etiquette. You take that bath, you soak that body, you put them bath bombs, and then you take a shower directly right after.
Yes.
Like you gotta walk. People just jumping in, and if you're not a little kid jumping in and out of the bed, what you doing?
It's questionable. I don't like that. Well, that was interesting.
Not interesting.
But, as y'all know, I was out. COVID tried to get me. It tried to get me. So I'm just wondering, is it just me, or has folks forgotten that COVID is still a thing? Like, it's for real. It's really out here. And I understand, like now we're in the season of like the flu, and then we've also went through like the monkeypox scare that wasn't really as detrimental as folks thought it was, as far as it like actually affecting us and being, walking down the street seeing people with monkeypox. But yeah, I feel like people just really are not or have not taken note or taken measure of how detrimental COVID is to your body. Like, that shit, and I'm vaccinated and I'm boosted. I'm boosted up. And it's still like I was hurt. I was hurting. It was rough, you know. I was congested. I had a fever. I thought I was a goner, y'all. It was rough out here.
Yeah, I think it's actually very annoying to me as someone who also is like vax boosted and a 2-time COVID survivor. And I want to say survivor, okay, because that shit is rough.
It's rough.
Like the first batch was absolutely terrible. I was like, oh, this is it. I'm gonna die. Well, hey. This batch was way more manageable, but it still was terrible.
Yeah.
Like I almost got the medication, I think on like day 4. Because I was laying in the bed and I was just like, I can't do it. I can't. And I couldn't get it because, side note, guys, sorry to jump on your whole, you're just me, Kioma. But if you're on certain birth controls, you cannot take the COVID pill.
There's a COVID
the pill.
pill?
It's the pill. Yeah. It's a treatment. Yeah. You cannot, I forgot which birth control it is. So if you have COVID and you get sick, tell your doctor about your birth control if you're on it, because a certain pill will make your liver explode. I found that out when I called, and I was like, I can't do it no more. I'm taking the pill. And she's like, oh, what are you on? I'm like, oh, nothing. And then she's like, birth control. And I was like, yeah. And she said, what is it? And she was like, oh no, you can't take the pill. It'll make your liver explode.
Yeah.
Yes, I was like, oh, okay. So she was like, you could go to the hospital. I was like, I'm gonna just lay here. I'm not gonna go anywhere. So just noted that the pill, make sure you just fully disclose your medication if you do decide to take the COVID pill.
Or maybe just don't take the COVID pill.
Or just don't take it.
That sounds wild.
I didn't even know they had a COVID pill. Like
I knew that, but I'm just not. Nah, I took good old Theraflu.
If you get a PCR test, like through one of the health and hospitals, health and home, whatever, they call you. Because they have to do contact tracing and stuff like that. So the actual hospital calls you and they ask you questions and they contact your job. It's a whole, because they're doing, the tracing.
I don't understand contact tracing because I tried to contact trace myself and I can't tell you. I landed nowhere. I
don't think they do it anymore because they don't care. I think it's done.
But I also think it's very difficult. Like,
well, I
understand maybe, like, restaurants, and I get like health, like hospitals and stuff like that, because I think it's easier. But like me, I was like at a gala, and then before that I was at Friendsgiving, so it's just like at any point I could have gotten it, and I just don't know. The buck stopped somewhere, but it stopped. The buck stopped in the abyss. Like I have no idea where it came from.
I don't think it's for you. It's for people who may come in contact with you.
Yeah.
So they're like, you got it. You good luck with that. But it's for at my job, I can help you. If I at my job when you have COVID, they say who you're in contact with, and they'll have your coworkers get tested. So they're like, you already got the disease.
My job does that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Because that's what happened to me when I was when all of Greenpoint got it and I was working in Greenpoint.
Ooh.
And they tried to tell me I had COVID. I said, baby, I don't though.
I am okay.
I don't.
I would know.
Right. I was like, no, not me. Lord have mercy. Well, my Is It Just Me? It's just, I have really become the mantra mommy. Like, I'm all about it. And I'm fucking with it. I was in a state of anxiety around every single thing in my life. I was just like, I can't control this. I can't control this. It was driving me fucking mad. And then I was on my favorite little clock app, Tickety Tickety. And this girl was just like, every day she wakes up and she says, Lord, show me how good it can get. And I've been doing that. And I can tell you, the anxiety have subsided because I'm like, even if this is a bad moment, just Lord, show me how good it can get. And eventually it will get great and better. And I was just like, right. Mantras are, yes, it's so centering, especially as somebody who is not naturally centered, naturally grounded. That's not where I live in life. It has been a really good grounding tool. I'm also doing this like love challenge from this old Black woman on TikTok, and like every day you open you open the app and you just look into the camera and you say, I love me, I love myself, I love me, and you record it every day for 40 days until the end of the new year. And it's been such a good grounder to just like start your day with love, and like to hear I love you from yourself and how much you love yourself. I'm like, the girls are onto something. The girls are onto something, and I'm like, I like this. I don't know if it's because it's actionable or whatever, but I'm like, it's working. In a moment of stress, I just went, Lord, show me how good it can get, and then it's above me at that point. It is literally above me, and I'm like, because the anxiety is not for me. Give it to somebody else.
Seriously,
choose,
yeah.
Lord, choose another strong soldier. I'm not.
Yeah, that reminds y'all saw that. I think it's a TikTok or it's like a meme or whatever, where it's like when the Lord is out picking his strongest soldiers, and he looked to you, and you're still getting over 2020, and you're just like, I can't. I actually cannot. Right. I literally cannot. Pick somebody else. There has to be other strong soldiers out there. Can't just be me all the goddamn time.
It gotta be.
There's no rotation. There's no sub. Can we be subbed out? Can we be subbed out of being the strong soldier? Because
right, especially the week my family has had. I'm like, baby, I don't know what we did, but if I need to burn some Palo Santo, some sage for the family,
you might need to.
We need it. We done. We the weak soldiers now, babe.
Sometimes you gotta be, man.
The weak soldier? Listen, what's weak? It's giving soft life to me.
Soft life is where it's at.
But you know who does not have a soft life? That motherfucker. And it's that time for y'all know it's my favorite segment at this point. It's time for Everybody
Hates Eric. All right, Eric, Mr. Mayor, tell me why this is the wackest Black Friday ever. And let me tell you, I was in the mood to spend money I didn't have. And I couldn't, okay? Because the Black Friday wasn't Friday, and the sales were disgusting this year. The sales were embarrassing, honestly.
Yeah.
We're 15%, 20%. We need 80, 90. We need free. Where were the stampedes, Eric? What is happening this year? I cannot believe, I said, listen, I'm going to blow this paycheck on stuff I shouldn't have. I decided that because sometimes you got to just, retail therapy. I got half the paycheck left. I only paid bills. When I went to the stores and to the apps, I was like, well, this ain't worth it. This is not worth me being irresponsible.
I agree. The text notifications that I was getting was just like, take an extra 20 or take 25% off it. And I'm just like, no. 25% is sales and tax and shipping. I'm literally not saving anything. I'm not saving nothing. It was embarrassing.
This item should be $1. What are you saying? Where did you not? What are we doing here? Are we not in a recession? Don't you not want this money? Do you not want my money?
Oh my god!
My god!
They don't.
They actually
and I didn't buy much. Some sales started last week. So I had a shopping cart full of stuff, and I said, okay, well, if it's 20% off this week, I'll wait till Black Friday. And it was the same 20%. I said,
no extra 20 on the 20?
No extra 20. Right. I could have bought this last week then?
Yep.
Right.
You could have had it. You could have had it by now.
I don't want it at all. I don't want it at all now because.
And not to piggyback off of yours, but babe, he needs to work out. Why can't I put 2 coupons together? I should be able to stack my coupons. Stack the coupons.
It's either free shipping or 10% off. I want both.
Yeah.
Right. Because at this point, I'm going to pay the $10 for the free shipping. Give me the $67 off.
Right.
Well, you know what you can use your money on? Cocktails. You can go to the bar. You could blow half that paycheck on cocktails. Maybe 2 or 3. Because these cocktail prices are out of control. They're out of control. At this point, I am going to, maybe I just, tap Thai services. Ty, maybe you should do like virtual bartending or cocktail courses, and people will pay for that. People will pay for that so that I could stay home and save my money and make these same drinks. I have the setup. I got my,
you don't
martini.
have the technique.
Have my martini. I could listen with the money that I'm spending on the cocktails. I can pay for the technique. I can buy it because it's wild. It's wild out here in these streets. And then I feel bad because it's just like, I'm going to the bar. I'm going to get a cocktail. I have to tip you. But now, because you raise your drink prices, now it's just like, now I'm going to drink less. So I'm not going to be able to tip you as much as I would have maybe last year. Because now the drink that was $12 is now $18.
I've never seen a $12 drink a day in my life. But here I will say,
a day? Nah.
No, unless it's happy hour, babe. Listen,
it's rough.
Stop coming to the club.
I don't.
If you can't tip.
I did.
I just said no. I understand. Like, if you don't need to come, don't come. But if you're not here to spend, and
I agree.
Tip and spend.
I agree. Make it rain.
And tip. They go. It's tandem.
I agree.
Don't come here trying to be my best friend and you're not tipping me. I'm gonna punch you in the face. It's been happening all weekend, and I'm like, it was Thanksgiving Eve,
and they wasn't
and
spending.
I said they were spending, but they wasn't tipping.
Oh no, you can't.
And I said, whoa, I could be home.
Yeah,
I could be home with my family, but here I am, Chester, serving you a motherfucking espresso martini with a smile.
Right.
And you want to tip me nil? Boy, go back to Jersey.
I agree.
But I will say, I don't think the cocktails are expensive. I just think we're not getting paid enough.
That, you know what? You might be right.
I think that's what it is.
You might be right.
We don't know where the next check is coming from. It's giving scarcity. And that's how I can tell what the economy is doing. It's giving scarcity because it's like, you getting paid, but you don't know how many shifts you're going to have. You don't know how many hours. You don't know what's going on next. So it's giving save the monies, but you still want to go out and have fun. I'm going to say throw house parties.
Yeah.
Throw house parties.
This is true. But then, everybody can't come to the house party because people got to work. Because they don't know if they going to get a next shift. So if I throw a
house...
And they got COVID.
Well, if you're in a club, you at the bar anyway, babe. It's COVID season.
It's true.
It's COVID season and it's pneumonia season because everybody getting pneumonia.
I don't get pneumonia.
Eric, people are getting pneumonia. Eric, work that out too, because I don't need pneumonia. I don't need it. That shit looks rough. All right. Let's just chug along. Asia, you got a Subway series.
I do. So last week was Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know if you guys saw the viral TikTok of the lady and her family serving Thanksgiving dinner on the train. Okay, I'm sorry. 2 weeks ago was Thanksgiving. A lady was serving Thanksgiving dinner on the train on the L, I believe. When I first saw that, I said, yuck, right? Because yuck. I mean it. But then I read the story and I was like, oh, okay. So the story is the lady who was doing it, her name is Brandy Baxter, and she's a caterer in New York. She lives in East New York, and she was homeless last year. And she did this also in 2019, but she was homeless last year, and she was saying she's just so thankful this year for not being homeless and being able to provide for other people. So she was like, she got her kids together and they got on a train and they made enough for 160 people.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and she was like, and people getting on a train were saying they couldn't go home this year, and it was just like it was amazing to see like this lady giving out love. It's the food, but also the love you get with the meal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And people were like truly just happy to like have this burst of love in New York City. And I think especially as we have a lot of like negative New York City train stories.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just
beautiful.
Yes, it was just nice to get on the train and not be assaulted, but also get a nice home cooked meal. And apparently the mac and cheese was fire.
Hey.
The train,
Black woman. Oh.
Yeah, the train was stopped it was the L. It was stopped at some point. And then she took the food to the street and just gave it out on the street, whatever.
Aww.
And then she did other stuff, like she gave away. She did like other events around Thanksgiving times, like feed people and feed the homeless. So I was like, you know what, New York City is not all bad, and the train system is all bad, but there are good things happening down there.
Well, shout out.
So,
what's her name?
Brandy Baxter.
Shout out to Brandy Baxter. I hope that you get some funding so that you can do this at larger scale, because it's obvious that this is what you want to do. Shout out to her, man. That's
in a building.
Beautiful story. In a building, yes. In a building.
I mean, I get it. It's beautiful. Eating on the subway. I mean, I have eaten food on the subway, Chinese food, Popeyes, pizza. But not after COVID.
Yeah, no.
I've seen the light. It's given. No, I did. One time I did eat a pizza on the train after COVID. I just threw it away.
Hungry, man.
No, I was on my way to work and I was like, if I don't eat, we're going to be taking these shots. But then after I couldn't eat the second slice because I was like, this is nasty.
I saw, this is like 2021. So it was like COVID was still like really in the air. And these two guys got on the train and first of all, he had Chinese food. He put the container on the seat while he opened up his hot sauce packets and I was just like, I mean, my eyes were so big.
Was his lap unavailable?
I was like, so then he's mixing his sauces into his food, and then his friend digs in his plate and grabs a chicken wing, and they're chicken wings, by the way, and they're on the train like eating chicken wings and fried rice, and I was like, this is not okay. This is it. This right here. I think that was my last train ride, honestly, because I was just like, I can't come down here. I can't
come down here.
She said, "Oh no, all type of nefarious acts happening down here."
I said, "This is it for me. I'm tapping out."
All right. So now we're gonna jump into our So Boom, our topic of today, and today we are breaking the seal, cracking it open. We have a guest today. We have the ever so delightful Nicole Patton. So claps, hands, all that. I like that. So Miss Nicole Patton here is a solution principal with Dell Technologies. She has her MBA from the University of Maryland. She has her MS from Colorado Tech University, her BS from Capital Tech University, and she's ITIL certified. So Nicole, please tell us what all of that means.
Thanks for the rundown. Essentially what it means is I'm a geek. That's pretty much what it boils down to, right? That's the only reason why you would have all that stuff. So essentially, I kind of wanted to do IT, and that's kind of what led me into kind of going to school and really understanding that in order to make it in IT, I needed to have degrees. And I also need to understand business. So a lot of my work has been a mixture of the two, of IT and business. On the side, I'm also a career coach. So I also try to help individuals get into IT out of those kind of $10 an hour jobs into 20+ hour, jobs by using the plethora of information that I've learned over my past 17-year career in IT and helping other people get to that point as well. So that's me.
That's amazing. Okay.
That's dope.
Yeah. Right, I'm gonna need you to talk to me after.
Right. Now I need to know, like, what made you choose IT?
So essentially, really what I wanted to do was just hang out in the corner with my friends, just to be honest. Like, that's really what I wanted to do. Like, I didn't want to go to school. I didn't like school. I was really bad at science. I was bad at math. I like to socialize. That was what I wanted to do. And my dad was like, you got to do something with your life. Like, you can't just hang out in the corner with your friends. Like, you either go to school or you go to work. And I remember as a kid, he brought a computer home. And I took the entire computer apart when he brought it home. And he came home and he was like, I just bought his computer. He just took it all apart. And I was like, no, I'm going to put it back together. Don't worry. And so I reflected on that when I got out of high school. I said, I really, like, as a kid, I took a computer apart. That's what I'm going to do. Clearly, I'm good with that. That's the only thing that motivated me, that I was good at, that people would ask me to do, that I could just figure out. And so I just went to school for it. I said, I need to learn more about it. And at that time, IT was still kind of new. Like nobody was really doing it. Black women especially were not doing it. And so when I first went to college, I was the only pretty much Black girl there, with a whole bunch of, white kids and small classes. And I was just determined to do what they said I couldn't do. And that's why I picked IT.
Whoa. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
So my thing is, as a Black professional working within the nonprofit sector, I do find that as Black professionals in whatever field, whatever space, we tend to latch on to other Black folks or people of color, because just in corporate America period, there's not many of us. So when we see somebody, it's like, when you go on vacation and you're in like a predominantly white or whatever country and you see other Black people, you just like, I peep. I feel like that's how it is in workspaces in corporate America. And my thing is, with you being a consultant, and I forget the term that you use, but we all have dependent. It doesn't matter if we were servers, if we were garbage pickers or whatever. How does that hurt us and keep us from moving up in our field if we just tend to stick with the people that we're comfortable with?
So I would say that, let's just start with the definition of what networking actually is, right? And networking is about learning and broadening what you already know. And if you're stuck in the same circles, what are you learning, right? So we as Black people always have kind of similar stories, similar experiences, maybe similar jobs. We tend to find similarities in the culture that we have, the clothes that we wear, all these things, right? And networking is not that, right? Networking is actually branching out and cultivating relationships outside of what you normally would do, right? Cultivating other people's ideas, your ideas, sharing your experiences in order to create a network, right? And a support system. And so I think that especially for me, the majority of the people in my network are not Black, right? Because I'm not in a dominantly Black space to begin with, right? But I also don't let that intimidate me, right? I think one thing about Black folks, right, is that we get intimidated by the fact that there aren't enough of us there, and we're timid, right, to talk to certain people, or we think that, this person's not going to help me because I'm Black, or this person's not going to accept me because X, Y, Z. And yes, there are, we don't want to be naive. There are microaggressions a part of networking. There is some race baiting along with networking, right? That, especially me, being Black and kind of being that diamond in the rough, being able to mix in different spaces. But if you think about what networking is supposed to be, which is you being able to diversify your space, diversify your knowledge, right? Then you need to warm up to the idea that there's going to be more than just Black people in your space in order to help you get to where you want to get to, and also help other people. So I look at networking as a way to help my people. I don't network with my own people, right? I network with others who can help individuals that I know who are Black get into the spaces that I want them to get into, because we're not there, right? So if I really see like, hey, the IT director that I know they're white or they're Hispanic or whatever, right? I'm going to make an opportunity to try to get to know them, find some common ground, and use that as a point where I can use that to kind of help somebody else, not just myself. So I would say that's like how it hurts you when you don't really look outside of your own, right, from a networking perspective.
Mm-hmm. Can you elaborate a little on what you do with your consulting?
Yeah. So with my consulting firm, I really focus on, like I said before, just career coaching, right? So I think a lot of us look at just jobs, right? Having a job, but not necessarily having a career. And a career is not a job, right? A career is essentially, how am I building on top of something to get to a certain point, or to help other people get to a certain point. And so with my consulting business, essentially I work with either individuals or I work with other businesses that are looking for coaches to help individuals who have, I would say, been kind of forgotten by the system, right? Who are in underrepresented groups, who are also from overseas. So I don't know if you all know, but there's a lot of Black people who are from other countries that come here and their credentials are not even qualified, right? They have degrees in chemistry and are working in a warehouse, right? And so those are people who kind of get lost in the sauce, right? And so essentially my job is to come in while they're going to school and really help them with resume writing, create a career development plan. What are you good at? Fighting imposter syndrome, which I think we all know what that is, right? Is, hey, I only have a GED. I only have a high school diploma. Nobody's going to hire me in IT. How do we combat those thoughts, right? Because imposter syndrome is really a lot of things that underrepresented groups really struggle with when they're trying to get into a lot of fields. Interviewing skills, right? How do you handle behavioral interviews? It's a lot of stuff that people don't know about how to do that. How do you talk about yourself and do that with confidence and with poise, and not think that it's not you picking a role, it's them, it's you picking them, right? A lot of people say, oh, I want to be chosen by Dell, or I want to be picked by Amazon, or I want to work for Google, right? It's more so about you. Your career is about what you want to do. What are the things that you think are important, and does that company or that organization speak to you and who you are, right? It's not about some big Fortune 500 picking you and telling you the best. It's about you telling them, I am the best, and I'm making a choice to work for you. And I'm going to milk you for everything that I have, and I'm going to move on, right? That's what your career actually is. Your career is not about being stuck in these spaces, just kind of doing the work for the man and going home because, as we all know, because, there aren't a lot of Black people in a lot of spaces, work is really meant to make you tired, right? So that you're not giving back to your community, that you don't have energy to do what you want to do. And so that's why you want to be in a space that allows you the freedom to give back, to do other things in your community, to build networks and support groups for your community. And that's why it's important for you to pick the role that you want, that fits who you are and what you want to do. And so essentially that's what I do. I help encourage and empower people to find that career path and kind of build it up as they go along.
You brought up a really good point, about milking the company for all they have and then moving on. Like I hear what you're saying about the networking outside of your branch and not so much with Black people. Tricky. I don't know if I'm 40 60 in, right? But I think that's so interesting because like we come from a culture, Black people, where they will stay at a job 20, 40, 60, 70 years. And now what we're seeing is like the pushback from the Gen Xers and the baby boomers with the Gen Zers who will leave a job, and they will leave a job continuously until they can get what they feel like they deserve. And some people feel like they don't deserve that because like, how dare you? But I think it's so brilliant. I think it's so genius. And I, as a millennial, I'm watching them like, absolutely. And until you like put words around it, because I was like, yeah, I don't know. But I'm like, it has kept us in the little bit of a chokehold with staying with companies and not feeling like loyal
right.
to the company.
Yeah, and I mean, to follow up on that, right? That's also part of your networking, right? I go into a company to figure out who am I going to take with me, right? That's also a part of networking, whether that be Black, white, and different. It's the people that you cool with, who you know that are going to have your back, that in case you need to come back and get a job, that's the person you're about to hit up. There's also an element of networking that's associated with milking them for what they got. I want to get to know the people that are the smartest people in the room. I want to get to know people that if I end up going off and doing my own thing, I can call them and they got either capital, people, something that I can leverage, right, in order to do what I need to do. And I didn't get where I am today by staying where I was at. Those degrees, a company paid for them, right? When I get to a job, it's like, okay, what can you do for me, right? What are the other things beside a paycheck and a bonus that you can do for me, right? And that's either, hey, you're going to take me to conferences where I usually would not go if I was anywhere else, right? Where I'm networking with people that I would never be around, right? Companies can do that. Are you going to pay for my education? Are you going to get me a security clearance? These are all the things that I thought about what a company can do for me because you got the money. And I'm just a person that needs all that. I need you to, kind of pour into me. And I'm going to apply for everything that you got. I'm going to use everything that you got. And I'm going to learn everything I can. And then in 2 years, I think I've learned what I've got. I've gotten what I need to get. And now it's time to move on to something else. So that's like the philosophy, right? And one of the things I just, briefly tell a story about networking is at my previous job, things got really hectic right before I came to Dell. And because I networked, the white lady who's a CTO, me and her was cool. And I used her to learn a lot about technology and being an officer and all that stuff. And I said, hey, this job isn't working out. She said, you can come back and I'll make you director and you can stay until you find something else. That's what networking is. That's what networking is, right? Networking is really about building and cultivating relationships, just like your friendships, right? Just like other relationships. It's about building and cultivating bonds with people that where y'all are just so cool, race isn't even a factor at this point. It's the fact that you know me for my credentials, you know me for my skill, you know me for my personality, you know me as a good person, and we just want to help each other, right, at the end of the day. And so knowing that I had that to fall back on when I was in a position where, hey, I had left this job, we were all cool. They were like, you broke up the group. But for me to be like, yo, I need a favor. They're like, sure, you can walk right in the director role today. I'll create it. You stay here until you find something else. Right. So that's kind of what networking can do for you. And that's, red, brown, blue, green, it don't matter. Right. That's what we all kind of need in our back pocket.
Let me ask you a question, because I have two friends talking about like job hopping. So I have two friends. I mean, they're Hispanic. And I was just wondering, like, as you're saying this, I wonder like what like your childhood poverty, right? And like loyalty and how that plays a role into you being loyal to companies. Because they're both professionals. One's a lawyer and one is, I don't know what she does. It's something with digital marketing.
Fair.
I don't know what she does, but I know it's digital marketing, right? So the lawyer friend, she's been with her company now for like 5 years, and she's just so grateful for getting the job that she kind of refuses to leave. She's had constant meetings about like getting her title changed, not even pay raises, just title changes she's fighting for. But she grew up like really in poverty. Her dad has had his job for like 40 years. So it's that sense of loyalty. Where my other friend, her dad was like, he owns businesses. So his loyalty is to himself. He doesn't have any company loyalty, right? And when I say this girl job hops every 2 years, a new job. And like right now, I think she's like executive director at like a Wall Street Journal. And she's been at like Slate. And she leaves immediately. And I was like thinking maybe because like just even the way you're brought up, you're taught different things. Like my friend, I'm like, girl, leave this job and go do your lawyer somewhere and come back if you want to. There's other jobs. But she's just like, no, I can't leave. I'm going to be VP or, I'm like, are you? And I'm not saying she can't be, but you've been here for like 5 years now. And my other friend, her salary has like increased. Like I remember in 2019, she was making maybe like 120. And I think right now she's making like 300 something. Right. Yes, exactly. Which is
yeah, I mean,
but it's because she will leave a job after like 2-3 years. She's out, and I'm just thinking like, especially as Black people, what Ty was saying, like we really believe in like this loyalty business and like sticking with the job to the very end in hopes of rewards. But that's not what the job is for. The job is to a means to an end. Like, where do you want to go with this career? Not just do you want to stay here and hope they pick you to move up.
Exactly, because that leads to my point earlier, right? About you waiting for a job to tell you what your worth is. I ain't about to wait for that. You're never going to know what my worth is, right? Like, because I bet y'all, like, you get to a certain point in your career where, you start realizing you're replaceable. Right. And to think that you are on this high pedestal where if there's budget cuts or whatever, that you someday ain't going to get caught up in the net, that's very arrogant thinking. Right. These are businesses. They're out to make profit. Right. And so, job hopping is one way to increase your salary, hands down. Like that is definitely the way to do it. The other thing, too, is you have to think about what type of experiences do you want to have. Right. Job hopping really helps you diversify your experiences because you're going from maybe a small company to a large company to a nonprofit to a manager position to a director position to a VP position. Think about all the things that your brain is soaking up and all the networks that you've created by job hopping, right? Think about all the people that you've met by job hopping, right? Because if I'm sitting in a job for 5 years, hoping, wishing, praying, just kind of waiting around, your circle is very small compared to someone who's decided to bounce around and do whatever and take some risks. There's certain things about your career that's about risk taking, right? And just jumping forward and saying, okay, I'm gonna see what this has to do for me, and I got something to fall back on. I have people in my net, right, that I can call on if I need something at the end of the day. But I also think that you're right? What you see your family go through plays a big role in how you perceive a career, right? My grandfather stayed with the IRS for 47 years in the same position, doing the same thing for 40 something years, right? So my father was in the military. My mom did this, right? They stayed at these jobs until they were either laid off or were just tired, right? And so one thing about me was, I don't ever want to be laid off because I don't want nobody ever tell me whether or not I'm gonna have a job. I'm gonna determine whether or not I'm gonna be here or I'm not, right? And so the other thing too is I'm like, how much am I actually gonna learn staying in the same place? When we stay in the same place, we get stagnant, right? We get comfortable. And again, it's all about relationships. Nobody wants to be in a relationship where we're just repeating the same thing over and over again. I'm the expert. I don't want to be the expert all the time, right? I want to learn stuff. I want to be challenged. I want to be with the smartest people in the room. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room all the time. You know what I mean? So I think it's just people's take, right, on whether or not they deem success being able to keep a job, right, or building a career, right, that may require you to take some risks and jump a few, jobs position here or there. But at the end of the day, money is to be made out here, right? And I'm sorry, but all the people that I've worked with, white males, they want money. And so you're not going to pay me or the bonus ain't high enough, I'm jumping because we can't work forever. We have to retire. We want to be able to live nice lives after the fact. And so I'm young. I'll make this money now. You're going to give it to me now, right? I look at it as this is my form of reparation. So I'm going to make every single penny that I possibly can out of your rich business in order for me to be able to provide and do things for my generation, right? And for the next one after that. Everybody else thinks that way. So why can't I?
That's right.
Yeah, I
have another question. All right, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, just to go back to the original question of latching on to other Black people in the company. So this is probably mostly TikTok because TikTok is insidious. But they say what I've seen is they're saying it also is a bad look to hang out with other Black people in your company because I'm not sure. Maybe they feel like it's not gang, but you're sticking together. I'm saying yes, network, but how do you feel about the idea that you shouldn't even talk to other people of color in your job because it may look a certain way?
Yeah. So for me, I don't give a damn how it looks because at the end of the day, right? I'm hoping that you hired me for what's in between my ears. Right, to begin with, right? Hopefully that's, and if you didn't hire me for that, I'm in the wrong place and I'm gonna find out very quickly and I'm gonna bounce, right? But I do think that there are some elements of some companies that do see that as threatening, right? When all the Black people are kind of together and it just seems like, oh, Lord knows what they're probably talking about, or are they thinking about doing X, Y, Z and so on and so forth, right? So from the outside looking in, yes, right? There could be thoughts of that, right? But we can't change those thoughts. There's nothing we can do to change that, right? And so what I'm not going to do is allow that to keep me from kind of communing with the folks that I have something in common with. Because at the end of the day, right, we all need support systems, right? And sometimes that support system is other Black people. Because some of the things that we deal with are Black people things, right? I ain't about to go to Sally and say, hey, so-and-so said something about my hair and this. They don't understand that, right? I need someone else to do all that with, right? And, when I worked at, one company, it was as many Black people I've ever worked with in my entire life in IT, managers and all that. And we would kiki and do all that and have a good time at work. And, people may have felt some type of way about it, but there's nothing they could do about it. Because again, we were the smartest friggin' people there. And so if we were the ones helping y'all get to where y'all got to, right? So at the end of the day, I think that you can't, I tell this to y'all all the time, we can't be naive to our spaces. We know what space we're in. We can't be naive to it, but we also can't let it threaten us, right? We can't feel threatened by that. We can't, sit on our hands because, oh, they're going to think, nah, screw that. You know what I mean? Like, y'all here for a reason. You're together for a reason, and y'all going to learn and feed off each other. And don't let anybody make you feel bad or slighted for doing that.
Yeah, I can definitely say that since knowing Nicole and being in the profession that I am in right now, like you use a term, Nicole, and I can't remember it right now, but it's tangible.
Oh, transferable skills.
Transferable skills. So they're in the summer, like at Ty, you probably know this as well. Like I was going through it with my job. I was just like, I'm out of here. I hate this place. I'm done. And Nicole was just like, no. She was like, this is what you're gonna do. She's like, you're not gonna leave yet, because at that point my title hasn't changed. My title hadn't changed and anything like that. And so like just sitting down and speaking with her for it was like probably like a month's time. Like we were just constantly just talking about it, because she was also going through it at work. So we were both just like bouncing things off of each other. And within that like 2 months time, I knew how to go into a room and how to ask for what I wanted, and ended up with my, almost $15,000 raise and a new title. And but also understanding that yes, in some places, yes, I can be replaceable, but in this moment where I'm at, I'm not. I'm irreplaceable at this moment. So you have to give me what I'm asking for, or else I'm leaving. And so I have to. It was like there was a point when I was just like, oh, this is what I'm gonna ask for, and Nicole was just like, are you dumb? Like, what are you even talking about? Like, you go way up there, and they're gonna meet you like maybe right below, if not at what you're asking for. So I feel like imposter syndrome for us is like kind of just like embedded, and it takes a lot of work to break out of that, especially us that didn't have like, I guess, um the track that a lot of professionals have, that like right out of college they like got into the professional field. Like some of us, I was in the service industry for a minute, so I used to look at like my service industry time as like, maybe I don't want to put that on my resume. And Nicole was the one that was just like, nah, those are transferable. Like you learn something here that is helping you to where you are, right now. And that for me was like a big thing I had to get over, where it's just like, that's nothing to be not. I wasn't like embarrassed, because the friends that I made, my network from that is just like, they're lifelong, and I, love them all. But it was just like, I didn't understand how I could take that experience to where I'm at right now, as far as like in my career, and like how I can elevate that, and how I can use the skills that I attained to, boost up my resume and enhance all of that. So I say that to say that outside of the consulting firm, Nicole does a lot of nonprofit work, giving back to the community, like, her poor neighbors, but also you help the children. You help the children them. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I do. So one of the organizations I'm with, just shout out to iMentor, is a organization that helps specifically certain cities with schools, high schools in particular, that have really poor test scores. They're like, the worst students, all of that, and they put mentors into the school. And so they actually have mentoring like classes and sessions, and they look for volunteers like myself to come in and help kids with just, their senior projects, filling out FAFSA, just kind of figuring out what they want to do. And it's not always college, right? So yes, I have a lot of degrees, but college ain't for everybody. College is not always the path. And we know that college actually equals a lot of debt for people that look like you and me, right? And so it's really about meeting the students where they are, helping them graduate, and then figuring out what their career path could be, right? And so one of the really good things I like about, being able to mentor is that, the kids are seeing someone that looks like them, right? I'm not know if you guys are aware, but a lot of mentors that are, mentoring, kids that are Black or Hispanic or Latina are not Black, or Latin, Latina, or Hispanic, right?
Right.
They're white, right? And
as one who had
yeah,
one.
and their experiences are totally different than what that kid is going through, right? And I'll just give you an example, like just filling out a FAFSA, right? I remember filling out a FAFSA and having my parents' financial information and filling all that in. You actually are realizing how much money your parents don't make, and you're applying to this school that's asking for 100 G's, and you just like the math ain't mathing. It's a very strenuous experience, right? And so that again is something that you can share, right, with certain kids that are filling out FAFSA and they're like, oh, I don't want to fill it out because of my parents' information. It's that like helping them deal and cope with those emotions of kind of being vulnerable, right? Because I think a lot of us are vulnerable in these spaces, right? Where, hey, I ain't the white kid that has a trust fund. I don't have to fill out a FAFSA, right? People are paying for stuff with no problem in my house, right? So being able to connect with kids who really struggle, at home or have failed, classes to really help them graduate and be able to do something else after the fact to build lives for themselves and others is definitely something that I really, really enjoy and definitely recommend everybody doing because there's not a lot of us talking to our own kids in our community so that they can see what success looks like. And success can be anything, right? It doesn't have to be college. It can be anything, right? So some kids just graduate and that's a success, so helping them get to that point is definitely something I also enjoy doing as well.
I'm sorry if I missed that. How did you get involved in mentoring the
Yeah,
children?
so it's imentor.org. Yep, imentor. Yep.
Okay. Cool. How are you on time?
Oh, I'm good for now.
Okay, I do have a question to go back to what you said before about not latching on to the Black people and using the company for everything that they got. Do you, when going into networking or wanting somebody who wants to network within their company, right? Do you go to the most powerful person in your I don't know, corporate vicinity? I have no idea. I've never worked in a corporate structure. I'm an artist. But but do you go do you look up to your like direct supervisor and you're like, hey, I want to, like, how do you go about networking in these spaces?
Yeah, so I would say the first thing to do is, when you go into a job, even before you sign a paper that I want to work here, these are all questions that you ask before you even take the job because you want to make sure that those resources are going to be available to you, right? If that's something that you want, if you're trying to build a network, you should ask, hey, are there any employee groups that y'all have that I can join, right? As your supervisor, hey, are you going to send me to conferences that are, in my interests or, outside of my field or whatever? And so if they have that, then okay, you check those boxes. That seems like a good place. Once you're in the job, right, your immediate is to go to your direct supervisor, right, and ask for a mentor, right? Most companies actually have a mentoring program where you can get paired up with someone that's higher above you or in a different organization than you are, right? Because for me, I don't want to talk to the same people that do what I do, right? I want to talk to find out, well, how did you end up being the VP of marketing? That's what I want to talk about, right? Because I'm in a consulting business. What do I want to do? I want to figure out how to market because that's not something I do very well. I do IT very well, but I don't do marketing very well. But I want to sit with someone who has skills that I won't say that I'm really good at, right? And so if your direct supervisor allows you to do that, you ask about conferences, you look up conferences on your own and say, hey, I want to go to this type of conference because they're going to be discussing this or this, that, and the other. Because conferences are ways to also branch out and find other Black people. You'd be surprised at conferences and it's a safe space because you're not at work, right? We're always concerned about how all the Black people at the lunch table will look like. Well, if you send me to a conference, ain't nobody knows me. All the Black people see each other. We want to key and do whatever. We can do that, right? So that's your safe space to be able to network outside of your norm, right? And what I mentioned, those employee resource groups, that's a way to not just connect with like your Black alliance networks, which a lot of companies are starting to do now, but that's also a place where you can really talk and find other Black people that are within your spaces, but also dabble into other areas because we try to make like, I get the world says, hey, you're 100% Black. And so you have to have and 100% Black experience all the damn time. And that's the only way that you can live, right? But one of the things about employee resource groups is we have to realize there are other things that make up our personalities, right? Whether that be faith, whether that be I'm a veteran, whether that be I'm LGBTQ. There are so many other facets of my life other than being Black, right? And so what employee resource groups allow you to do is, okay, yeah, I'm definitely joining the Black group, but I'm also a vet and I care about vet issues and I want to see, more people join vet stuff, right? You can join that group. I'm a planet geek. For instance, I was telling Kioma, like, I don't know anything about the planet, right? Nothing at all. But I joined a planet group just to see who was in there. And I ended up meeting a friggin' VP who was talking to me like a regular person who's mad cool. Now I have somebody in my network, right? And I learned a whole bunch about oysters I never knew before, right?
Okay.
So, those are the type of things that you can do to find your Black people, but also safely branch out to other groups where you can learn more and find out how other people made it to where they made it, and just kind of keep those names and those contacts in your back pocket. Like, it's not monopoly. It's not like just collecting a whole bunch of houses, right? It's actually being very intentional. Networking is very intentional. This isn't like, oh, I'm about to collect a whole bunch of business cards. It's very intentional. You have to be very intentional about the spaces that you want to go into, the people that you want to learn from, and the things that you're trying to experience. And that's how you really navigate the areas within an organization as well.
Okay, that is excellent advice. I can even apply that to my acting life. But yeah, it's a transferable for
yeah. I mean, and I would say, like, even if you're not in the corporate space, the internet is a wealth of information. You can find people that you could just reach out to, and okay, if one person ain't interested, another one might be. And you just kind of keep building and building, like that. And eventually you'll have your little pot of people and you'll be able to network and work together, whether that be corporate, freelance, whatever, right? It doesn't really matter. It all applies.
Right. Thank you for answering that. I've learned a lot. I have.
I have to.
Because
I have another question.
Oh, go ahead. Because when I hear
the word, and I was going to say, like, y'all are mad quiet. I've heard your podcast before. Y'all just like sitting back, the eyeballs.
No, because we're learning. No, we are learning. I wanted to interject, but you're saying stuff, and I'm like, oh, right. Like, I'm literally like having a mind battle because I'm like, no, Black people, but I'm like, but yeah, there is like value in other people in the way that you approach networking. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like this makes sense to me. Relationships make sense. When you hear the word networking, you think of like, like vultures and people just trying to, there's no relationality to it where we are both getting something from this experience. It's always like, I'm going to suck all the information that you have and then I'm just going to go on. I'm like, I don't feel interested in that. But Aisha, ask your question.
Well, actually, I'll come back to that. But you saying that, I mean, you and I have discussed networking and how much we hate it. And like, I hate it, especially as an artist, because I feel like it's always this, like, give me a resume. It's like, hi, I'm Asia. And I've done X, Y, and Z, and I have to sell myself to you. And it's annoying and I hate doing it. But if it's happening in a place where it's like, oh no, we're just here to collect stars together. Oh, by the way, I'm also an actress. By the way, I have a podcast. It's like, oh yeah, I'm a person outside of this thing that I do. And that seems to be a more like, I guess, a more tolerable way to network, or a more like interesting way to network. Because I really hate having to sell myself constantly. Whereas like, I'm not selling myself. I just happen to mention who I am, and we're in this very neutral space.
Yeah. So,
and now I've made a connection.
Yeah. And so I'll throw one at you. Flip networking on its head. Right? Don't make it about you. Make it about them. People love to talk about themselves.
Yo.
Right?
Especially
that's also what I hate.
If you think about networking, right, and if you flip it and you just say, but make it a challenging question. Don't make it like, oh, what stuff have you been in, right? Make it, hey, what has your struggle been lately because of me, right? Because now what you're doing is you're making that person vulnerable to talk about something that maybe is not something that nobody wants to talk about the struggle. Everybody wants to have the accolades and want to talk about how great they've done. Nobody wants to talk about how hard it was for them to get where they're going, right? Because to be honest, that's what you need to know. You need to know how they got above all that to get where they want to get to. So give me the meat of your story. I don't want the fluff, right? I don't care about what show you.
Give me the meat
Give
of
me the
your
meat.
story. I don't want the
I don't want the fluff. I don't want where you at right now, right? I want to know how you got where you got to.
Write that down.
You know what I mean?
No, that's what I
like
felt that in my spirit.
I want to know the struggle. I want to know how you got to where you got to, right? Because when I'm networking with people, a lot of the questions I throw at them are completely like it catches them off guard. They're not they want us to be like, oh well, they want you to kind of feed into that whole accolade thing. I ain't about to feed into that, right? I don't want to get into that, right? I want to understand how you were able to make it, right? How did you network, right? Who are the people that you know? How did you do that? You know what I mean? Because I'm having an issue with this. Can you tell me how you would address that type of problem? And that's how you're building relationships, because relationships come from a point of vulnerability, right? That's the only way that you build a relationship. If both of y'all just kicking and talking high level, that's not a relationship at all, right? You're not going to get anything out of that, right? You really want to make it down to earth and personable. And you do that by pulling out the struggles of what that person had to go through in order to get what they're gonna do. And some people say, hey, my parents paid for it. You know what I mean? Like that could be their answer, but at least you get into the meat of what people's experiences are, and collectively, right, you're able to summarize like, oh, okay, this person did this person did that, this person did this, and it gives you a whole bunch of ideas on how to attack your problems as they come about, right? Or to help other people with the situations that may come about, right? So, networking ain't really like, to me, I don't want to hear the fluff. I don't care. Right.
As you say that, I'm thinking about, I mean, I not to sound defeatist or like, it's not going to work, right? Because that's not, because I'm having many thoughts, right? But I'm thinking about like who I have to network with as you say that, because other actors who are on the same, other artists who are on the same level, it is so hard to get the truth out of them. And I feel like I'm a truthful person because I don't care, but that's my personality. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I don't care. But a lot of people, you can ask that question, like, how'd you? And it's just like, oh, they make it seem like it's so easy because they don't want to be vulnerable with you. And I feel like once you get to when you're with people who have actually made it, whatever made it means, or they're comfortable where they're at, I feel like they're willing to say more because they're not putting on a show anymore. And I feel like sometimes when you network laterally, sometimes, not all the time. And this is I think it's actors. This is not, I think in business it may be different, but I feel as artists, it is so hard to like get the truth because they're always performing. And it's like, hey, just be a human being. Like, especially in classes, it's like, be human. We're here together learning, right? You don't gotta perform right now.
Right.
We could just learn right now together. And I feel like, but as you say that, I'm like, okay, one, I will try that. But two, I'm like, okay, maybe it's like take out the intimidation of asking people who have really made it somewhere and they're comfortable. Like, don't feel like, oh, I have to start here because we're in the same level and this person is like two above me. Like, let me ask that person as well because maybe they have a more confidence in where they are and they don't have to perform. They can just answer the question truthfully.
Absolutely. And I think too, stop talking to artists too. Right? Remember we said diversity.
Dead ass. I was just thinking that when you were
diversify who you talking to, right? Because an artist gonna give you artist shit, right? You know what I mean? And if you gonna give me that, I can easily, just like Kilma said, transferable skills. The things that y'all do as artists can be done across the spectrum. There's a lot of skills that y'all are using that are applicable to any space. No bull. Any space. Just like how things are doing in the IT space, you would never think that an artist may ask me a question because they do, right? Well, how do you do that? Oh, well, because my perspective is different from yours. And because I have a different perspective, all that does is add stuff to your toolkit to apply to your space, right? Because it can be applicable. You'd be like, oh, I never thought about that. I could actually apply that as an artist here, here, and here in these particular spaces. And that didn't come from an artist, right? So that's like the benefit of kind of saying, all right, I've talked to a bunch of artists, got their opinion, but let me just talk to people who have made it in business just to begin with, right? Because everybody had to start from the bottom at some point. An artist is starting at the bottom. Everybody starts at the bottom, right? And so their stories can actually influence and empower you, and they may have the same struggles that you having right now, just applicable to a different space, but you can still apply it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I like the way that you go into, from what you described so far, there's a sense of like power. There's like no inferiority where you come in like, oh, I'm just trying to, I really don't know anything. And you're like, no, okay, I know what I know. And then I want to know what you know too. And then I want to know what he knows. Like, and it shifts your, I don't know, not to be like it shifts your like your chakra space, like where you the place that you operate from now when you go into these rooms, and it's like, okay, let me put my imposter syndrome at bay because now I'm just coming here to learn and be a sponge, and you know.
I mean, it's kind of like people can ooze insecurity; they can sense that before you even open your mouth, right? And so if you're wearing all that, people are not going to take you seriously, right? And what you want to be taken seriously, right? And so take your experience seriously. You sacrifice whatever you had to sacrifice to get where you are, right? Which means I belong in this room. I belong to talk to y'all, right? And I'm here. You know what I mean? It's kind of like dating. You know, when somebody come at you and you just like, nah, you ain't giving the right vibe. Like, it's the same exact thing with networking, right? If you come in just kind of like body language, just like making it seem like you don't belong there, then you won't belong there, you know, because you're oozing that. Nobody's going to accept that. You know what I mean? You come in, you're intentional, you're in the space that you want to be in, you already picked out who the hell you want to talk to. Trust me, that's how you move with confidence. That's how you have that self-esteem and that power going into that room in order to build a relationship that you want to get to. And it helps you handle rejection, because not everybody's going to want to help you. And if you're coming from a place of just, oh gosh, I don't belong here, that's actually going to feed that more, right? When you get rejected, when people aren't willing to help you. But if you're coming from a good place already, you already know not everybody's going to, be willing to help you, which is fine. You're able to move on and find the people that you need to be around.
Right. Okay. This is a sermon Sunday. I love this. She came on and said, I'm going to preach to the people.
Pass the collection plate.
Right.
This is Nicole.
Amen.
This is Nicole on our stoop nights. Giving us the word. But go ahead.
No, go ahead. No.
Oh, no, I was just going to wrap it up. Thank you, Nicole. And again,
okay, here's my real.
Here we go.
No, this is not deep at all. This is just like a logistical thing. Where do you stand on resumes? Should they be 1 page or 2? What is happening? Because the discourse around resume length is ridiculous to me. So what do you, as a professional, how long should a resume be?
Yo, as long as it requires for you to get your experience across, right? Anything past 2 pages, nobody's going to read. Because, and I used to be a hiring manager, so I'm doing this just off jump. I probably had 10 to 15 seconds to read something to catch my attention, right? And so the second page is more like I'm curious because I like what I read on the first page. But if you have a lot of experience, like you asking people that have 15, 17 years of experience to do the 1 page, to me, you're shortchanging yourself. Don't do that. You know what I mean? You want somebody to know what you've done. And if you're early in your career, 1 page is fine. But if you have a lot of experience, right, don't try to force yourself to get a 1-pager. My advice is, if you have experience, just use a blank sheet of paper. Screw the templates, because our mind get on the resume template and it can only be this and it's got to be this. Screw that. Just start with a blank sheet of paper and write down everything that you think that you've accomplished as far as a career, right? And then go back to the template and be like, all right, what are the best things that I wrote down? That's what I'm going to start with. That's what I'm going to put in here. You know what I mean? And see where that gets you, right? And 1 page 2, mine has been 2.5 sometimes. I'm still getting a job, people. Like, 1 page, 2 page, it's really about the content. Focus on the content. It's really about the content. What are you telling me about you as a professional? What have you done? What skills have you learned? Right? How do you work with teams? What problems have you solved? Focus on what you're saying. This ain't about just writing a whole bunch of stuff. Focus on really what it is. What are the top things that you've done that are really going to make somebody be like, yeah, I want to talk to them. that's what your resume is for, to get somebody to talk to you, right? So if we're focused on like pages and all that, I hate the page thing. I think it's crazy. But sometimes it makes sense. Like if you're really early in your career, 1 page. If you got a lot of experience, 2 pages. See, we just do 2 pages and go from there.
Okay, thank you.
And I have one last question for the people thinking of jumping ship. Like, is there a right time to do it? Is it a Q1 thing, a Q4 thing? Like, when is it time to like get your ducks in a row and be like, hey, let me see what's out there for me?
So usually the best time to kind of see what's out there is usually this spring, right? So let's say like December, January is time when everybody kind of staying in their jobs to see what their bonus is going to be, right? Let's just be real, or what their raise is going to be. When people get what their raises are or what their bonus is, that's when they get pissed, and that's when everybody starts jumping ship, right? And so that February, March time frame is usually when things start to just pop up out of nowhere, right? Summertime, things start popping up out of nowhere because people are upset with how they thought their performance was viewed, and so now they're jumping ship, right? So I would say that usually that springtime into summer is always a good time to look. But I always tell everybody I work with, never be afraid to be ready for an opportunity because they can come fall, winter, spring, or summer. So always have some type of resume, something, your talking point, your pitch ready, because when you start networking, you don't know who is going to come at you and be like, you got a resume? That could happen at any point, right? But as far as job searching, definitely after people are like upset about not getting their raises, but always be ready for your next opportunity and don't be afraid of it when it comes and hit you in the face because it's coming.
All right. Thank you so much,
No problem.
Nicole.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
Yes. And we had Nicole up here for, some free game. But if you want to hire Nicole,
Amen,
we will be sharing the link. We'll have all her contact information in the post when we post everything. But yes, thank you, Nicole. Follow Nicole at Technical. It's technical. It's a little, play on the words, but it's tech. Nikal on Instagram. And yeah, we'll be dropping her email and everything. Any questions that you have, don't try to milk it. This is a business. This is a business that my girl is running, okay? And yes, thank you, Nicole, for, educating us Black professionals, expanding our mindset and letting us know the importance of our worth.
Yes.
The importance of our worth is always a big deal.
Absolutely.
All right, Nicole.
Just for the general vibes.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And thanks for being a listener.
Absolutely.
Right.
All right, Nicole.
Bye.
Later.
Bye.
Lord have mercy.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, we moving on to the next. I got a peep game for y'all. So, I don't know how many folks know about the 15% pledge. So the 15% pledge was started by this designer, Aurora, and she is a Black designer from New York, if I'm not mistaken. She owns this clothing company. Well, no, it's just a company because she designs clothes and shoes and purses and things like that. And the pronunciation of the name has changed many times, but it's Brother Velius, if I'm pronouncing this correctly. The last name, the last part of it is spelled Vellies. And anyway, it's like a luxury. It is a luxury company.
It's not Versailles?
No, that's not what I spelled at all.
Oh, I thought it was Brother Versailles. Okay.
That's because we can't read signs. I did too.
Did you? I followed them. I followed them.
I said those letters. That says Versailles.
I don't even think there's an R in the second.
It probably is not.
There's no R. But anyway, she started this 15% pledge. So essentially, what the 15% pledge is, she goes to these major corporations like Target, Macy's, all these things like that. And she basically digs in to see how many either black products they carry, or how many black folks are represented like in their like C-suite, and things like that. So during the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, when she started this company, she was like essentially like posting, from major corporations like Estee Lauder, L'Oreal, like all of these things, and like this is their C-suite. This needs to change. This is all white folk, and this ain't it. And so she just basically, what it is just amplifying black voices, black people in these luxury spaces, but also just black folks in Target. And also it's a networking thing as well, because when she lists like these companies and things like that, like say for instance, she listed topical the skin brand.
The beauty, yeah.
So topical, she was like pushing for them to be in Sephora. They now with that they also got investors because they were a startup and all these things like that. So it's just like it's a great company, I think, to a nonprofit to invest in. So I myself have donated to it. So every holiday season they do a gift shop, and what they do is post black companies, black businesses, and what have you, as a way to put your money where in the movement, like in that aspect. So now they have a storefront, and they have a pop-up shop in Soho, 63 Spring Street, and everything in there is black owned, black amazingness, from luxury to furniture